Recently, I received some feedback from an individual who questioned the validity of even thinking about preparedness, much less actually implementing tangible preparations. He said it's all fantasy, it hasn't happened. Well, in this video, I would like to present to you that disease, war, and famine have been part of the human condition since the beginning of humanity. If we look at just the last little over 100 years, we have many prominent examples. So let me lay down a tier of facts of 12 significant SHTF end of the world as we know it events that have taken place and which we can learn from. And then stay with me because I will present a summary of some lessons where you can prepare yourself and your family. Number one was World War I. From 1914 to 1918, 15 to 22 million deaths occurred. Number two, the 1918 flu pandemic. Over 50 million people worldwide died. Three, the Great Depression from 1929 to the late 1930s. While I'm sure there was many deaths attributable to this, the most significant thing is just the absolute trauma of people who lived through that period. If you're old enough, you can recall your grandparents' memories of this, your fathers and mothers' memories of this. They were, with very few exceptions, sort of traumatized by it. In 1932 to 1933, there was what's called the Ukrainian Famine, the Holodomor, death by hunger, where an estimated 5 to 13 million people died. One of the key documents of that period was the book Death by Hunger. The author actually lived through this period as a young child and illustrated what would happen. In an earlier video, I've done a deep dive on this. And while that video is a few years old, it's still very timely as far as some very detailed lessons that can be gathered from that period. Number five was World War II from 1939 to 1945. It's estimated that 70 to 85 million people died. My own father served with the 3rd Infantry Division and was wounded twice. Number six is the Holocaust, where 6 million Jews were liquidated in a very manufacturing type environment. For example, at Auschwitz and crematorials, it boggles the mind that humans could have done something like that. Number seven is nuclear war. There's been 2 bombs, atomic bombs, which have been dropped. On August 6, 1945, at 8:15 a.m., a bright flash appeared over Hiroshima, and that was the first actual atomic bomb used in warfare, followed a few days later by a second bombing in Nagasaki. It's estimated 129,000 to 226,000 died during that. And oh, by the way, if you're concerned about nuclear weapons going off, the various countries have exploded 2,000 nuclear weapons, some 580 of them in the atmosphere and 8 underwater. Next, we have the Chinese famine of 1960 to 1962. This was due to the Chinese Communist Party's misdirections of their policy and sensitivity to their people. It's estimated from 20 to 50 million people starved to death. We're talking about the early 1960s. Number 9 is the Vietnam War, which actually the casualty list is kind of hard to compile, but it's estimated that in total as many as 1.4 million people died. This period was from 1954 to 1974, some 20 years. My oldest brother served with the 25th Infantry Division and was wounded. He recounts coming down on his third air assault. He said the first two air assaults were unopposed, but on the third one, when they were like 150 feet in the air with the Huey, he was amazed by the fact that bees flew that high. And then he said the bees started punching holes into the Huey, and then the first man yelled out that he had been hit. A few seconds later, a second man had been hit. He said finally when the chopper was 5 or 6 feet off the ground, the crew chief door gunner started yelling, "Anybody who's not wounded, get out, get out, get out." And he said he leaped out onto the grass on the ground, glad that he was out of that chopper as it lifted off. And he was a forward artillery observer. He said he took the radio phone and started to call in an airstrike, and he realized, no, I have to wait a few minutes till all the helicopters are gone, or otherwise, as a secondary effect, we could be shooting our own helicopters down. So, a very traumatic experience. Number 10 is the Cambodian Genocide. From 1975 to 1979, 2 to 3 million people were killed due to the policies of the local Communist Party. That entails 1/4 of the population of Cambodia. I recall a woman who I knew learned from her firsthand that she was from Cambodia, and she experienced the Cambodian genocide. And her father, a school teacher, a middle school teacher with no political involvement, was taken one night and within a few days was executed by the communists. Number 11 is the 2004 Indian Ocean earthquake and resulting tsunami, where it's an estimated that 227,000 people were killed. And last, number 12, is the COVID-19, which I realize some people think that was a fake disease, but it's estimated that as many as 7 million deaths occurred, including one of my best friends was intubated for a period and then passed away from COVID. I know another man whose wife was lost due to COVID, and my own wife spent 4 days in the hospital. So it is not over with COVID. It's still making its rounds. So what are the macro lessons from these 12 situations? Well, number 1, be situationally aware. As they say in the military, keep your head on a swivel. Sign up for emergency alerts. Register with your local emergency management agency for alerts like weather warnings, flood advisory, and evacuation notices. 2, follow reliable news sources, which, I'm sorry, the mainstream news media is largely so politically controlled. It's not through them. You have to look for the boutique news agencies. Number 3, monitor credible online resources. And finally, prepare yourself and your family. There needs to be an ABC plan and then improvise. A is, what happens if society muddles through even in the face of certain SHTF situations? Have a plan for life. That's what I call the A plan. And then if things go partially south, there's an economic depression, there's a war, have a plan B of how you're going to manage that. And then plan C is, it's pretty close to a collapse. And improvise is have the skills, the mental resilience, and supplies on hand where you can quickly improvise a new plan if need be. Now, if you found this video beneficial, please click like and subscribe. It helps the channel and it helps the community. Be prepared.